Every single day, nearly 70 million people eat at McDonald's, pouring billions into an empire built on a stolen name. But the most terrifying secret hidden beneath those golden arches isn't what's in the food. It's the fact that the man the world celebrates as the great founder of McDonald's didn't invent the burger, didn't invent the fries, and didn't even come up with the name. Ray Kroc was a desperate, aging milkshake salesman who infiltrated the company, hijacked the multi-million-dollar gold mine from the brilliant brothers who actually built it, and then ruthlessly forced them to rip their own family name off their very first restaurant just before driving them into bankruptcy. History doesn't give a damn about who invented something. It only cares about who weaponized it. Ask Steve Jobs about Xerox. Ask Mark Zuckerberg about the Winklevoss twins. We are told that hard work and innovation are the keys to building an empire. But the real empires of our modern world, from the trillion-dollar gates of Apple to the sprawling global warehouses of Amazon, weren't built by the dreamers. They were hijacked by predators. Welcome to the McDonald's Masterclass in Corporate Slaughter. Let me paint you a picture of San Bernardino, California, in the late 1940s. Dick and Mac McDonald were not businessmen, they were obsessives. They looked at the standard drive-in restaurant and saw nothing but pure, unadulterated inefficiency. So they did the unthinkable. They shut down a highly profitable business, fired their staff, and threw out 80% of their menu. What they built in its place was a culinary assembly line modeled perfectly after Henry Ford's automotive factories. They called it the Speedy Service System. It was a miracle of logistics, running with the precision of a Rolex and the relentless output of a Toyota plant. You didn't wait 30 minutes for your food, you waited 30 seconds. The brothers were printing cash. They had achieved the American dream. They had wealth, zero stress, and total peace of mind. They didn't want a global empire. But out in the Midwest, a 52-year-old failure named Ray Kroc was slowly bleeding to death. Ray was a struggling salesman peddling multi-mixer milkshake machines. His life was a graveyard of missed opportunities. He was broke, exhausted, and desperate. When he heard that a single restaurant in California was running 8 of his expensive machines simultaneously, he flew out to see it for himself. Dick and Mac McDonald proudly showed him their kitchen. They showed him their secrets. They thought they were impressing a vendor. But Ray Kroc didn't just see a burger joint. He saw the next Coca-Cola. He saw a cultural virus that could spread faster than Disney, infecting the entire country. And he wanted to be the one pulling the strings. Kroc pitched the brothers a deal wrapped in gold. He told them, "Let me franchise your system across America. You stay here, enjoy the California sun, and I will do all the dirty work." The brothers agreed, but they weren't stupid. They locked Kroc into a draconian contract. Every single new restaurant had to be an exact carbon copy of the original. Any change required written permission from Dick and Mac. For the first few years, Kroc worked himself to the bone. He evangelized the McDonald's name. But there was a fatal flaw in the system. Kroc was making pennies. Every time Kroc wanted to innovate or cut costs to save his own skin, the brothers coldly rejected it. Kroc realized he hadn't become a business owner. He had become a glorified, underpaid employee. He was drowning in debt, while the brothers held him on a tight leash. But how long do you think a starving wolf will let you hold its collar before it bites off your hand? Every great corporate heist requires a mastermind in the shadows. Bill Gates had Paul Allen. Ray Kroc had a financial genius named Harry Sonneborn. Sonneborn looked at Kroc's bleeding balance sheet and told him the words that would change the trajectory of human history. "You are not in the burger business. You are in the real estate business." Sonneborn handed Kroc the ultimate weapon, a legal loophole. The contract with the McDonald brothers dictated the food and the branding. It said absolutely nothing about the dirt underneath the buildings. Sonneborn and Kroc set up a separate entity. Kroc stopped just selling franchise rights and started secretly buying up the prime real estate where the new restaurants would be built. He then leased that land back to the franchisees at massive markups. The trap snapped shut. Millions of dollars flooded in, completely untouched by the McDonald brothers' contract. Overnight, Kroc morphed from a suffocating partner into a real estate titan. He owned the ground the empire stood on. Kroc had just checkmated them without baking a single bun. Armed with his newly minted millions, Kroc went on the offensive. He wanted total control, and he wanted the brothers out. Dick and Mac, exhausted by the relentless psychological warfare, finally broke. They named their price to walk away forever, $2.7 million in cash. Kroc was furious, but he agreed. However, the brothers also demanded a 1% royalty on all future sales. Kroc, playing the ultimate game of deception, told them he couldn't put the royalty in the official contract due to his investors. He looked the brothers in the eye, shook their hands, and gave them his word. The brothers signed the papers. They handed over the keys to the kingdom, and Ray Kroc walked out the door and never paid them a single dime of that royalty. That trusting handshake cost the McDonald family an estimated $100 million a year in modern terms. You would think winning the empire would be enough, but Kroc didn't just want to win, he wanted to annihilate them. There was one minor detail that drove Kroc insane. The brothers had kept ownership of their very first original restaurant in San Bernardino. Since Kroc now legally owned the trademark to the name McDonald's, he unleashed his corporate lawyers. He forced the men who literally gave him his career to rip their own family name off their own building. The brothers had to rename their legendary restaurant to the Big M. To ensure total destruction, Kroc bought the plot of land directly across the street from the Big M. He built a massive, shiny new McDonald's right in front of their faces and choked them out with an aggressive price war. Within a few years, the Big M, the true birthplace of the global fast food revolution, was driven into bankruptcy and boarded up. Ray Kroc wrote himself into the history books as the founder of McDonald's, leaving the true geniuses as nothing more than a footnote. He proved that in the highest echelons of business, empathy is a weakness and ruthlessness is the only currency that matters. But the boardrooms of our favorite brands aren't just filled with ghosts of the past. The shadow wars are still being fought right now, behind closed doors, for control of the products you use every single day. What happens when the next billion-dollar empire is stolen from the inside out? Subscribe to the Rivalry Record. The archives are overflowing, and the next classified file is about to be cracked wide open.